Okay, we have a very interesting talk coming up in about a minute about multi-screen engagement by the Chief Innovation Officer of MCN Holding, Tom Roy. Give him a hand, please.
Hi, good afternoon. How's everybody? You're probably wondering we're going to talk about multi-screen engagement, and I have a picture of an orchestra. Because I think for brands today, multi-screen engagement is really about orchestrating your message. Now, and for me, the brand is really almost like the conductor. And you've got different pieces of music that's played by different instruments that come on and off at different times. But when they are singing off the same song sheet, that's when you get symphony. And that's a brand message that works across multiple screens for engagement. Now, this is the world that we are in today. The future is now. We've got social engagement that uses content. Web is at 3.0. It's completely visual. Social is really mobile first. Everything that Facebook does today is mobile driven. In fact, I was reading a couple of weeks ago that Mark Zuckerberg refuses to see anyone who comes to him with a proposal that isn't mobile first. Video is everything, video is everywhere. All of it is happening in real time. Smartphones are smarter today, so engagement is really multi-screen. We have to keep mobility in mind all the time. Technology is really being simplified, and brands today that really cut through the clutter work as utilities and not just as message advertisers. So the challenge for brands today is telling the truth in a very interesting way, in a way that consumers can resonate with and relate to. So Always On is really about providing relevant content that is insightful, that is informative, and inspiring all at the same time. Now, I come from an advertising, marketing, media agency background. In fact, I work across all three. And we used to talk a lot about 360-degree engagement. Are we integrated? Well, today it's really a shift that's happened from just 360 into 360 plus 365 247, which means you have to be always on across multiple screens and multiple media at the same time. Engagement used to be a very simple process. 4 steps: awareness, we had interest, desire, and we arrived at purchase, which was the action that we all wanted. Today, there's awareness. We develop an interest in the brand or product. This leads to a new sphere of interest, which is opinion. And then I engage in a dialogue with the brand and the community about the brand. So that's a new step. That's where all of us as brands, as agencies, as tech people can come in and engage with the consumer. This is what forms desire. And when I have desire, there's a whole new step, which is where I go on social media and I share my desire. What do you think? Should I buy the new Audi A4? Should I get the new Nikon D600? We ask for opinion. I share my desire because I've already come to a stage very close to zero moment of truth, as Google would like to call it, but I share and ask for opinions. And then, only then, do I take action. Do I go through with purchase? Then what I do is I share my action, which develops into opinion. I become a brand advocate, and I become loyal to the brand, and I go right back to the starting point where I gather information and I start all over again. And it's all about repurchase and ongoing loyalty. Now, if you look at the screen behind me, all these areas, before I arrive at zero moment of truth and actually afterwards, are all happening on multiple screens. Sometimes all at the same time, sometimes sequentially. But they're all screen-based, usually, other than awareness and interest, where you may have gathered the information offline through a newspaper or a magazine ad. Now, we used to talk about 2 screens or 3 screens. Well, you know what? Today, if you look at it, it's almost 3.5 or 4 screens at the same time because the tablet is a whole new screen in our daily lives. And if you look at how interactivity works with access and personalization, the higher up the curve you go, the moment you go to handheld, that's where you get access at nearly 100% because it's always on. But that's where interactivity increases, that's where personalization increases. But on television, which is your old first screen, you've got the least amount of that. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if you look at it today, it's the handheld that's really your new first screen. Now, we tried to plot a day in the life of John Doe or Ismail in our world. At 6:30 a.m., the primary screen in their life, and I've got red codes meaning consumption and green codes meaning action. So at 6:30 in the morning, the mobile is on. As soon as you wake up, the first thing you do is you check your mobile. There are 2 other screens that come into play. Somebody switches the TV on in the living room, but they check their tablet or their laptop at home. From 6:30 to 8:30, this thing keeps happening. And at about 8:30, it's drive time to go to work. So either I take the metro or I may drive to work, and my mobile is on. And with new technology, I sometimes may be able to engage, not necessarily actively, but from a consumption point of view, on my car screen. And for those of us who understand that wearable is in the here and now, I still have wearable, maybe a smartwatch, and it's on. At about 9, when I arrive at work, my mobile is on, I'm consuming and acting. I get on my laptop or my desktop, my tablet is on standby, and my smartwatch is on. This goes on through the whole day. Now, consumption and action through the day varies depending on lunchtime, depending on meetings, etc. But this is the usual pattern. At about 6:30 in the evening when I leave work, mobile is still on. I get in the car, there's a car screen in play, and my smartwatch is still on. That's what I call transit and then unwind and social time. So 6:30 to 8:30, I usually jump onto a tablet. My mobile is still on. At 9:30 in the evening, I usually switch to TV, and that becomes my primary screen. Mobile still on, tablet still on. I'm now beginning to use these either sequentially or at the same time. At 11, if I'm shutting down to go to sleep, the mobile remains on. So if you look at my life, your life, or somebody else who uses multiple screens at the same time, if you look at the amount of screens that we react with, the number of screen exposures that we have in a day, it is absolutely phenomenal. Now, this is a brand's typical paid, owned, earned engagement map. You're all probably familiar with all the items in this list, and I don't need to go through this. But if you look at every single aspect of this, it all involves some sort of screen or the other across paid, whether it's display, mobile, search. Out of home involves screens. If you look at owned media, so your digital assets, your social assets, email, CRM, digital, it's all screen-based. And of course, with earned media and social, it's absolutely screen-based. So multi-screen engagement today is hugely important in the way we work. This is a stat that I found online, which is that the average home today has about 5.7 internet-capable devices. And it was 8 years ago, it was just 2. So imagine how many screens, and each of these are screen-based. There are refrigerators that you can buy today that have screens that you can react with. Now, these 4 things are changing patterns that is posing a massive challenge to every media planner in this room and out there. These are 4 habits that are on-screen behavior. Snacking is the habit of our generation to self-package content from either the internet or television, consume it anywhere that I want. Time shifting is not watching what you want me to watch as a media planner at the time you want me to watch it. But I download it, maybe on my recorder, or download it onto my computer and watch it at a later time. This is happening at the same time with something that we call place shifting, meaning I don't watch TV on TV. I watch TV on my iPad. All three are happening at the same time that I'm multitasking. So it's not just that I'm snacking, time shifting, and place shifting. I'm doing this all at the same time, along with several other activities. This is a big challenge, not just for media planners, but it's also for creative people. How do we cut through the clutter? I was talking to Yusuf from Leo earlier today at lunchtime, and I think that as creative agencies, we face this huge challenge. Does our creative really work with snacking, time shifting, multitasking, place shifting? Does it cut through this huge challenge? Now, this is the new multi-screen world. If we try and understand cross-platform consumer behavior, 90% of media consumption today, like I said before, is screen-based, and nearly 40% of interactions happen on smartphones. Now, this is US data, but I can bet you dollars to dimes that this data is even more true for our region because we've got the highest penetration of smartphones anywhere in the world. And we spend an average of 4.5 hours of our leisure time in front of one screen or the other. Now, there are two modes or two types of multi-screening. It's sequential usage, so I move from handheld device to a tablet, or a tablet to a laptop. Or there's simultaneous usage, meaning I'm multitasking, so I've got unrelated actions going on. I'm watching maybe a football game on television, and I'm playing PlayStation at the same time. So the game on TV is working like mom would have her radio on while she was cooking, so it's called fuzz. Or I've got complementary usage. So I'm watching a TV program, and I'm talking to my friends on social about that TV program at the same time. Have you seen what's happening on Game of Thrones? So I'm sharing content, complementing content across two screens. This is related content and related screen usage. Now, consumers usually move between multiple devices to accomplish their goals today. It's not moving from home to store, they're moving across devices. 90% of people today use screens sequentially. So 81% browse the internet sequentially. If you look at shopping trends online, there's nearly 70% shop sequentially. So they'll start on a smartphone, they'll move to a bigger screen environment so they can see the product information better. And that's how they progress. So whether you're managing your finance, you're doing banking, you're planning a trip on TripAdvisor, so there's a lot of sequential screen movement that's happening, either at home, even at work. You might get a message on your smartphone at work, and you immediately jump to your desktop to react to it. TV no longer commands our full attention. So 77% of the time that viewers watch TV, it is with or on another device. So 49% watch it on a smartphone, and 34% watch it along with a laptop. Shopping, as we all know, is absolutely multi-screen. So nearly 70% of people use multiple devices to complete their online shopping journey. And this is what Google tells us. So if you look at this Google mantra, which they've been talking about for the last few years, the zero moment of truth, the entire brand consumer journey that's done together is almost entirely screen-based today. And when I arrive at the moment of truth, a lot of the inputs that help me arrive at my ZMOT is actually screen-based. So what are some of the sources that I use to arrive at my zero moment of truth, my absolute point of decision, the no-go back factor when I say yes to a brand, to a product? If you look at some of the bars, every single one, other than the second bar from top, is on screen. So I search online, I use a search engine, screen. I talk to friends or family about product, I may do it at home or at work. That's the only activity on this chart that's not on screen. I comparison shop products online, third from top, screen. I seek information about product or brand, that's online. I go back and I want to reaffirm my decision, reinforce what I'm thinking about the product. So I read reviews, I read product information, I look at unboxings on YouTube, website-based, online. I seek information from a store website, online, screen-based. I read comments on an article. I seek opinion online. And then I finally become a friend, a follower, a fan of a brand. All of these are screen-based activities. And if your brand, and as an agency, if we are not planning to engage multiple touch points, we are missing out of so many inputs on the zero moment of truth. Now, TV is still huge, large in this part of the world. But are all of us watching TV on TV? What about place shifting? So this shows that when people have 4 screens at home, or they have access to 4 screens, only 70% watch TV on TV. The rest of it is consumed on computer, smartphone, tablet. A lot of people actually use social while watching TV, so they do what's called chatterboxing. So they speak about what they're watching on TV, and they share it on social with their friends. So mobile is completely at the center of the digital intersection of paid, owned, and earned. So it's mobile technology that pushes everything. So if you look at what Facebook are doing, for example, everything is built around mobile. Instagram buy was a decision based on the mobile screen. Now, smartphones are the most common starting place for online activities. So whether it's searching, shopping, planning a trip, etc., it all starts on the smartphone. So for us media planners, 2 screens at once is a big challenge, and we need to be aware of it. And we cannot say that there's no place shifting, time shifting happening. And for brands, this is actually quite a bit of good news, that brand recall actually increases, not decreases, with multi-screen activity. The more screens I have access to, especially with the 18 to 44 segment, brand recall increases. So 61% of people who have 4 screens recall brands better than if you had 2 screens, which is down at 42. So this is what Unilever call, and they're clients of ours, what they call video neutral engagement planning. So it's multi-screen symphony, which is why I had the orchestra visual. It's mobile ready, and it's creating content that continuously adds value across all screens, because mobile today has shifted from pure messaging to experience, which is context-driven, adaptive, relevant, and for those of us creatively thinking, it's aesthetic. And in this region, mobile is not a nice to have anymore, it's a must. Because smartphones are everywhere. The UAE's got the highest penetration, and Saudi's number 3. But a survey that did, one of our agencies, we found that year on year, there's an increase, not just in smartphones, but how more often it's being used. Again, a survey that we did as an agency, 18 to 40-year-olds told us that 82% of them, unprompted survey, couldn't live without mobile phones. Internet was down at 67, magazines down at 1%. Technology is being simplified. People are coming first because technology is empowering them. Now, this is going to be a major shift with screens. It might be a tiny screen on your wrist, but wearable is going to really change our world, because it's wearable is whereverable and wheneverable. Wherever, whenever. This is a huge challenge. Think of a bank where I'm standing in a queue. I don't have to tweet that this queue is really long. You can see me on my wearable device, which is transmitting all the time. In-store is going to be affected hugely by screen again, because there's things like showrooming, where I actually walk into a store, but I'm checking prices at another store next door on my mobile. This is not about e-commerce. This is just a concept called showrooming. Brands are discovering the power of NFC. So in the store environment, technology is using screens to react, interact, and commercially transact with consumers. Location-based, again, screen activity, is going to take real-time data and combine it with a captive audience to produce a hugely better connection with brand and consumer. And today we know that you can combine TV and mobile. You can use Shazam, for example, with a TV program that connects the two. So it's all about content, really, at the end of the day. How you work with multi-screen is providing engaging, entertaining, well-orchestrated content. So brands need to ensure that every instrument that's playing is playing to the same song sheet. It's only then, if everybody's playing the same song sheet, they're producing a harmony, a symphony. If they know when they come on, when they get off, who plays loud, who plays soft, that's the importance of creating a beautiful brand story. Thank you. If you have any questions based on MultiScreen and data, Pete's in the back. He just presented, so no, I'm just kidding. Any questions? No tough ones, please.
No, this is a softball one. Thanks for a really good talk. I mean, I think there's a lot of really good content in there that everybody benefited from. My question to you is a question I get asked quite often, which is, who do you think is doing it well in this region? I mean, of the advertisers you work with, or maybe other advertisers, who's actually creating really good symphonies in terms of the content that they're producing today?
That's a really good question, so I'll give you a really honest answer. I don't think anybody's doing it. I think, and I'm not saying this because they're our clients, but Coke is trying really hard at this. Everything that I see coming out of the competition, which is Pepsi, is pretty well orchestrated, but I don't think they're singing off the same song sheet. So I see a bit of disparity of tone of voice. I see disparity in creative, because what I see on TV doesn't really resonate with what I see maybe on my handheld. So I don't think really any brands have got that sort of symphony going like in Nabisco does in the US market. So I think there's a huge opportunity area for people like yourselves to drive that sort of action. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, I just have a quick question. Based on your background in multi-screen, do users prefer different content in different screens or same content in different screens?
Okay. Now, this is very, very good. I was just talking to a client today, and they are in the process of preparing a mobile site and a website. And I said that's absolutely wrong, because today if you're preparing content online, it should be responsive. So it squeezes down, squeezes up, whichever way you want it. I think content should be different because engagement levels are different, engagement mediums are different. A real estate company to sell a 6-bedroom villa on a handheld device that big, very difficult. But they can start with a message there and end up. So it's a sequential journey. In a sequential journey, you don't need to have the same sort of creative. It can flow. But I think the message should be tailored to be the same kind of thing. I think creative needs to be different, but your path needs to be the same. Does it answer your question? Thank you, guys. Thanks very much.